welcome to FIA Insights, where we give you a look into the remarkable world of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Make sure you hit subscribe and that like button if you want to see more behind-the-scenes content like this. Let's go. Let's kick things off with the heart of a race weekend, Race Control. Now, you've probably heard the pretty iconic voice of Scot Elkins, the race director. However, there are so many people that work in here to ensure that a race weekend goes safely and smoothly. So let's take a look inside and get a look at this really, really vital work.
Being an FIA Race Director is really simple. When the cars are on track, that's when we're responsible for what happens. We're responsible for the safety, we're responsible for the event happening, we're responsible for responding to any incidents, whether that's contact between cars or the track changing, something needing repaired, things like that. I kind of hold two roles. I hold the role of the race director, and then I also hold the role of the track inspector. And so the track inspector job starts first. There's a lot of preliminary inspections that we do. And then once we sign off on the track, then you kind of change hats and go from track inspector to race director. It's just processing through the sessions. You know, we have practice sessions and qualifying sessions and races, just like every other race series. It's a little different and a little more intense for us because we do it all in one day.
Let's dive into a little bit about race direction and what's your relationship like with them?
So our race director, Scot Elkins, really, really great guy. I feel like all of us drivers can approach him with questions and ideas, concepts, which is great. You want to have that, you know, communication and relationship with your race director.
There's a good amount of mutual respect between the race director and the drivers. Drivers' briefings are mostly quite constructive. They're quite a fun part of the weekend because you can talk about things really openly, and a lot of the things that the drivers say get taken on board. So I think, like I say, that mutual respect is a really nice thing with the championship.
So I'm the head of sporting matters in Formula E. So basically I'm in charge of all what is related to sport, as the name of the title says. And basically I'm in charge of the sporting regs, but I'm also in charge of the sporting equity amongst all the competitors. So it's quite a little bit relevant, the sport side in the FIA, because we are kind of having all the relationship with the promoter, relationship with teams, and we are trying to push forward in a specific line of work with all the different departments in the FIA. So it's quite a specific and quite relevant inside Formula E.
What is a steward? The description is really, really hard. In general, we can say we are here to enforce the code. So that means we look that everybody is following the regulations, and if there is a breach of regulations, we have to investigate, and sometimes we have to penalize. It's not only for the drivers, also for the teams, but including also the officials.
There are many regulations in our rulebook that they are basically common in all other series in motorsports and especially other FIA championships. But there are some regulations that are specifically linked to Formula E. One good example is the attack mode, for example.
Of course.
As you know, it's all these kind of features we try to implement inside the regulations, and you have to do in a way that it's clear for everyone, it's concise, it's short, but it's quite strong, and you don't have any kind of loopholes that teams can take profit to get an advantage on that.
My relationship as a race director with the stewards, it's supposed to be a separation of church and state in a sense that we report things and pass them on to the stewards, and then the stewards make decisions. Whether it's the chairman, whether it's the international steward, whether it's the driver advisor, any of those guys, the relationship is kind of the same, which is we all try to work together. The uniqueness of Formula E makes the relationship between the race director and the stewards very special because everything happens so fast.
We always have to have minimum 3 stewards. You have one chairperson, and we have the chairman position, and the second steward are coming from FIA. And then in each country we have a steward, a third steward from the country where are we. And then we have a secretary, and we have a stewards operator who helps us to find the right decisions.
They're there to do a job. They make decisions based on the rules and the regulations. There's no hard feelings there. They don't discriminate against certain people. It's normally fairly black and white. There are situations that are more difficult, but at the end they're there to do a job, and overall, over the course of a season, they do a very good job. I'm saying all these nice things to the FIA so that when I get myself in a situation, guys, you remember this, and I've been really kind and really nice, and I don't want any penalties this year, because I had too many last year.
When an incident on track happens, it's kind of a standard process, depending on the severity or depending on what needs to be done. Normally it's based on what we have to recover. We have tools in our toolbox that we can use whenever there's an incident. In Formula E, it's kind of unique. We have a full course yellow, which causes all the cars to slow down to the same speed, but also gives us the ability to react quickly. So we try to use a full course yellow in something we can go out, maybe pick up a piece of debris and come back and make it very quickly. The other tool is a safety car, which everybody knows what that is. Everybody sees it. Every incident's different, even if it looks the same. Something about it's different than the last one, and that's kind of our process.
When that incident happened, the race director, the first thing he does is he reviews the incident and he tries to assess if it's remarkable enough to be sent to the stewards for a further analysis or not. If the incident is relevant enough because one driver is off track or they have touched, whatever it happens, this is sent to the stewards. The stewards receive directly from an internal communication system all the video evidences of the incidents, or all the evidence around. Maybe they are not only video, it can be radio, it can be telemetry, it can be any element that it's available for us. So the stewards review the incident, and as an independent body, they take a decision on that. This decision is transferred to the race director, who communicates to everyone.
Ultimately, it's motorsport, right? Like you don't want to come together with someone ever. There's always someone who's going to be probably more on the wrong than the right, but it's their role to enforce that, and I think they do a pretty good job.
Sometimes it's necessary to do a hearing with the involved people, then we summon the drivers or the teams, or the drivers and the teams, sometimes also marshals. For us it's really important to have every aspect around that case to finally do the right decision. If we are sure what's going on, we take a decision without a hearing. If we are 1% unsure, we do a hearing and we do the investigation after the session.
One of the most challenging parts of the FIA's work in Formula E is the fact that we race regularly on street tracks right in the heart of city centres. There's a huge team involved in this. Let's see what they do.
I think the decisions that we have to make, especially when it comes to incidents, are quite different when it's on a street circuit. The problem being that we're surrounded by walls, so there's not any area for the cars to go off. If they lose control, they hit a wall, and it limits our recovery options because we can't really put equipment on the track in a lot of different places where we could on a more permanent track with more room. So yeah, the street circuit is a very different animal when it comes to incidents and recoveries. The track inspection really, again, it depends on the circuit. Everything about Formula E depends. It depends on where we are, what type of track it is, whether it's a street circuit, whether it's somewhat permanent, whether it's semi-permanent. It just kind of depends on what we're looking for, but it's always kind of the same things. Safety is first and foremost. We're looking at all the safety systems to see that tire barriers, Tech Pro, the fencing, the walls, all of those things are in place. Street circuits are unique because then we have to look at all of the ancillary items that you would find on a city street. We look at manholes, we look at drainage, we look at all of these different things that could potentially cause us problems later in the weekend. Then we also have to look at ingress and egress. If it's a street circuit, there's portions of an actual city street that have to close, and then those may open in the night to allow traffic. So a lot of different things we have to look at. Our level of resource that we have in race control to use is not that different than actually what's used in Formula One. We have software that allows us to look at every camera on the track. We can look at all the in-car cameras. We can review those just like if you have a DVR or some kind of replay system at home to watch TV. It's the exact same thing. We have direct communication with the TV director, so we can give them information and talk to them. We have radio communication. I have the ability to talk to every driver individually, all of the drivers at once. I have immediate contact via an intercom system with all of the team managers. So there's a lot of communication going on.
All right, attention all teams, this is Race Control. We have affected the repairs of the Tech Pro. This is a 5-minute warning,
I did the math a while back when somebody else asked me, and I think I listened to about 4 or 5 different things at once during a race. It's fast paced, but in terms of the technology, we have everything we could possibly ever ask for in regards to what we need to ensure the safety of the event and to ensure that we officiate in the most fair way.
And that is it. Thank you so much for joining us as we explored the wonderful wide world of Formula E. We'll see you next time for more FIA Insights.